Canada's economy has faced numerous challenges in recent years, causing concerns among economists and policymakers alike. Despite being one of the richest countries in the world, the Canadian economy has needed help to keep pace with its peers. Several factors contribute to Canada's economic woes, from sluggish economic growth and high unemployment rates to declining exports and rising debt levels. Canada, the second largest country in the world, is a land of immense opportunities. Located on the North American continent, right above the United States, it borders three oceans: the Atlantic, the Arctic, and the Pacific on all three sides. Canada and the United States share the world's longest border between any two countries, stretching around 8,891 kilometers or 5,525 miles. The fascinating geography of Canada is such that 80% of the entire Canadian population lives within just 100 miles of the United States border, with 50% of all Canadians living just south of this line. The province of Ontario, which accounts for 38% of the Canadian GDP, is the perfect example of how economic activities drive population growth. The largest industries in Canada, such as real estate, mining, and manufacturing, are primarily located in these provinces, where most people tend to live. Over the last decade, house prices in Canada have risen so much. This highlights the immense potential of the Canadian real estate market. With such a strong economy and diverse industries, Canada is undoubtedly a land of opportunities. House prices in Canada have doubled since the financial crisis, driven by consumer spending. In 2009, the government implemented a stimulus program to support the economy, and the central bank kept interest rates near 1%, encouraging Canadians to take on debt to buy homes. People are buying homes, hoping prices will keep rising, leading to a housing boom. However, rising interest rates have softened housing prices in the past year. Despite this, most renters in Canada still believe that owning a home is out of reach. An Ipsos poll found that 63% of Canadians who do not own a home have given up on owning one. According to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation (CMHC) report, immigration has been a significant driver of rental demand in recent years. In Canada, many newcomers choose to rent homes instead of buying them, which helps to maintain the demand for rental units. This trend is expected in Canada, as house prices also appear to be high relative to rents in most developed countries, such as the US and UK, where they are reasonably priced. However, what sets the Canadian housing market apart is the consumers who may be reaching their borrowing and spending limits. Canadians spend a significant share of investment capital on housing compared to businesses. Business investment includes non-residential structures, machinery and equipment, and intellectual property, which make up only 9.3% of GDP. In contrast, the strong growth in housing investment has driven Canada's net stock of residential assets up by 18.9%, representing 22% of the nation's wealth. Have you ever wondered why there aren't enough job opportunities in Canada? One of the reasons is that many people prioritize spending their money on housing instead of investing in businesses. But did you know that business investment is crucial for economic expansion and increases productive capacity and goods and services? Shockingly, Canada invests less in businesses as a share of GDP than the US. Foreign direct investment has come into play to compensate for the lack of domestic investment. Unfortunately, Canadian enterprises are yet to be known for their global success. According to a survey of 900 executives, Canadians tend to be more risk-averse than Americans. This has become increasingly relevant as Canada's relationship with the US has been strained. It's no longer acceptable that only 4 out of the 10 biggest companies on Fortune's list of the world's largest are Canadian, with the top firm, Brookfield Asset Management, ranked 158th. The US has significantly influenced Canada's economy, shaping its policies and practices due to the close economic relationship between the two countries. American companies often establish business operations in Canada, primarily to avoid tariffs or taxes. Still, their headquarters and intellectual property often remain in the U.S. Foreign companies are increasingly acquiring many promising startups in Canada, particularly American ones. This is partly because when small Canadian companies go public by selling shares on the stock market, they lose tax benefits, making them more vulnerable to acquisition by larger foreign firms. As a result, the Canadian economy has become less productive and innovative than the U.S. In perspective, Canadians earn an average of $60,000 annually, while their American counterparts earn $80,000 on average. By traveling just a few hours south, incomes increase by almost 33% on average. It has been observed that Americans work longer hours than Canadians. They work about 3.5% more. However, despite working longer hours, the average American worker produces $74 of value per hour, while the average Canadian worker produces only $57. This raises the question of what enables Americans to work smarter and not just harder than Canadians. The answer lies in the difference in capital intensity, which refers to the amount of money spent on machinery, tools, innovation, and capital per worker. American companies invest more in this area, with an average of $20,500 per worker, while Canadian businesses spend $13,000 per worker. Additionally, Canada must spend more on research and development among G7 countries. The U.S. produces double the number of patents per person than Canada, according to the World Intellectual Property Organization. Improved standards of living are directly related to productivity growth. Canada's income per person in 2022, adjusted for purchasing power parity, was $57,800, nearly $17,400 lower than America's. This gap has been a minor issue so far, because Canadians in the bottom half of the income scale are better off than Americans in their position due to lower levels of inequality. The Gini coefficient measures income gaps in any country, ranging from 0 to 1, where 0 indicates perfect equality and 1 indicates perfect inequality. For the past 42 years, Canada's Gini coefficient has never exceeded that of the United States. Income equality has always been higher in Canada and has increased more quickly over the past 4 decades. In Canada, after a sharp increase during the challenging period of the early to mid-1990s, income inequality remained relatively constant over the last decade and decreased after 2010. However, Canada's economy must still be more competitive than other developed nations. According to the IMD World Competitiveness Ranking, Canada's worst performance in the annual survey's history dates back to 1997, ranking 14th out of the 63 countries. In terms of competitiveness, Canada is being outperformed by other countries, such as Singapore and the US. It also highlights that a competitiveness index measures productivity rather than competition, which drives innovation, efficiency, and economic growth. However, about 10 to 15 years ago, Canada was innovative despite facing stiff competition from larger and better-funded rivals. Canada holds immense potential to be a global leader in innovation and creativity, owing to its pool of highly skilled and talented individuals from diverse backgrounds. According to the IMDb report, Canada stands at an impressive 11th position globally regarding talent. However, it is imperative to tap into this talent pool to drive Canada's growth and development, as brain drain continues to be a significant concern. To address this issue, Canada needs to step up its game and offer competitive compensation and opportunities to its talented individuals. It is time for the government to initiate policies promoting entrepreneurship and research and foster a conducive environment for businesses to thrive beyond the natural resources sector. By doing so, Canada can unlock its true potential and emerge as a powerhouse of innovation and creativity. Canada's economy heavily relies on the natural resources sector, including mining, lumber, oil, and natural gas. In 2021, natural resources accounted for 17% of nominal GDP and made up 51% of the value of the country's total merchandise exports. However, Canada's two primary exports, oil and vehicles, have declined and may continue to do so. The cost of producing oil from Alberta's tar sands is relatively high, and the United States, Canada's primary foreign customer, has been producing more oil than it imports. Additionally, car manufacturing has struggled to recover from the 2008 recession, with production dropping from a peak of 3 million vehicles in 1999 to just 1.4 million in 2020. The services sector is the only one growing and doing well. Over the past few years, financial services, real estate, and communication industries have been rapidly expanding. Toronto has emerged as a new financial hub in North America, with one of the highest concentrations of financial services company headquarters in the Americas. For the 11th year in a row, Canada's banking system has ranked first in the G7 and is considered one of the most stable and sound banking systems. Canada managed to weather the global financial crisis better than America, partly because its banks are prudent, well-regulated, and not troubled by excessive competition. Despite all its economic problems, Canada remains one of the world's strongest economies, with a stable democratic government, polite and confident citizens, and a favorable business environment. The country is regarded as one of the least corrupt nations on the planet. However, according to the OECD's predictions, its growth has been weaker than that of other advanced economies for a long time, and it is unlikely to improve anytime soon. Make sure to let us know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.